History, it is said, never repeats itself, but it often rhymes. The ongoing Russo-Ukrainian conflict, a grim spectacle unfolding on the global stage, seems to echo this sentiment. On the surface, it appears to be a brutal throwback to a bygone era, a conflict characterized by tank battles and artillery duels reminiscent of the Second World War. Yet, beneath the surface, a closer examination reveals a complex interplay of old and new, a hybrid war where centuries-old strategies collide with cutting-edge technology. This conflict serves as a stark reminder that while the nature of war may evolve, its fundamental principles remain strikingly consistent. Understanding these principles and their application in both historical and contemporary contexts is crucial for comprehending the trajectory of the conflict and its broader implications for international security. We will explore the comparison between past and present military tactics and strategies, emphasizing the adaptation and modification of outdated tactics in the face of modern technology and evolving geopolitical realities. The critical role of leadership, both on the battlefield and in the halls of power, will be examined, drawing upon historical examples to illuminate its impact on the course of the conflict. Join me as we dissect the strategic tapestry of the Russo-Ukrainian conflict, separating the threads of history from the strands of modernity to reveal the underlying patterns of this unfolding drama. The battlefields of the 21st century bear little resemblance to the trenches of the First World War or the vast tank battles of the Second. Technology has fundamentally altered the conduct of war, introducing new domains and capabilities that would have been unimaginable to military strategists of the past. The Russo-Ukrainian conflict exemplifies this evolution, showcasing a hybrid approach to warfare that blends conventional military tactics with cutting-edge technology. Tanks, artillery, and infantry remain central to the fighting, reminiscent of the large-scale ground offensives of the 20th century. However, these conventional forces are now augmented by a dizzying array of advanced technologies, transforming the battlefield in unprecedented ways. Unmanned aerial vehicles or drones have emerged as a defining feature of modern warfare, and the conflict in Ukraine is no exception. These remotely piloted aircraft, equipped with sophisticated sensors and weaponry, provide a decisive advantage in intelligence gathering, surveillance, and targeted strikes. Cyber warfare, another relatively new domain of conflict, has also played a significant role in the Russo-Ukrainian war. The digital realm has become an integral part of modern warfare, a virtual battlefield where nations engage in a constant struggle for dominance. Cyber attacks, ranging from disruptive malware to sophisticated espionage campaigns, can cripple critical infrastructure, disrupt communications, and sow discord among populations. In the context of the Russo-Ukrainian conflict, cyber warfare has emerged as a key element of Russia's strategy, a means of undermining Ukrainian resistance and projecting power without resorting to conventional military force. Russia, with its well-developed cyber capabilities, has a long history of utilizing cyber attacks to achieve its geopolitical objectives. While Ukraine has proven adept at defending against these cyber attacks, Russia's actions highlight the growing significance of the cyber domain in modern warfare. The ability to disrupt an adversary's critical infrastructure, communications, and financial systems can provide a decisive advantage, even in the absence of traditional military action. Napoleon Bonaparte, the renowned French military strategist, famously quipped, "An army marches on its stomach." The ongoing conflict in Ukraine has exposed the vulnerabilities of modern militaries to logistical challenges, reminding us that even the most technologically advanced armies are dependent on the timely delivery of supplies, ammunition, and reinforcements. The vast distances, challenging terrain, and unpredictable weather conditions in Ukraine have presented significant logistical hurdles for both Russian and Ukrainian forces. Russia's initial advance into Ukraine was hampered by logistical bottlenecks, as supply lines stretched thin and fuel shortages plagued its armored columns. Ukraine, on the other hand, has leveraged its knowledge of the terrain and local support networks to maintain its supply lines and sustain its resistance. In the age of instant communication and social media, the battle for hearts and minds is as crucial as the fight on the ground. Information warfare, the struggle to control the narrative and shape public perception, has become a central feature of modern conflicts, and the Russo-Ukrainian war is no exception. Both sides have engaged in sophisticated information operations, utilizing traditional media outlets, social media platforms, and covert propaganda efforts to advance their narratives and undermine their opponents. Ukraine, for its part, has proven adept at countering Russian narratives and garnering international support. The battle for hearts and minds is fierce, with both sides deploying a vast arsenal of tools and techniques to influence public opinion. The course of war is often shaped by the decisions of leaders both on the battlefield and in the halls of power. The Russo-Ukrainian conflict has highlighted the critical role of leadership in shaping the trajectory of the conflict, from the strategic decisions made in Moscow and Kiev to the tactical brilliance displayed by commanders on the ground. Vladimir Putin, the enigmatic leader of Russia, has staked his legacy on the success of his special military operation in Ukraine. His leadership style, characterized by a centralized decision-making process and a penchant for secrecy, has been criticized for its inflexibility and lack of transparency. On the Ukrainian side, President Volodymyr Zelensky has emerged as a symbol of Ukrainian resistance, inspiring his people with his courage and determination. His unconventional leadership style, utilizing social media to rally international support and communicate directly with his citizens, has proven remarkably effective in galvanizing global support for Ukraine. The leadership qualities displayed by key figures in the Russo-Ukrainian conflict will undoubtedly shape the course of the war and its long-term consequences. War, in its brutal reality, inflicts unimaginable suffering upon those caught in its crossfire. The Russo-Ukrainian conflict, like all wars, has left an indelible scar on the lives of millions, shattering families, displacing communities, and leaving behind a legacy of trauma that will reverberate for generations. The conflict has forced millions of Ukrainians to flee their homes, seeking refuge in neighboring countries or within the relative safety of Western Ukraine. These displaced families, torn apart by violence and uncertainty, face an uncertain future, their lives uprooted by a war they did not choose. Beyond the physical displacement, the war has inflicted deep psychological wounds on the Ukrainian people. The constant threat of violence, the loss of loved ones, and the destruction of homes and communities have left many grappling with trauma, anxiety, and grief. The psychological scars of war, often invisible but no less real, will continue to haunt survivors long after the guns have fallen silent. The economic fallout, a ripple effect. The Russo-Ukrainian conflict has sent shockwaves through the global economy, disrupting supply chains, fueling inflation, and exacerbating existing economic inequalities. The conflict has disrupted the global supply of key commodities, including wheat, oil, and natural gas, leading to price spikes and shortages worldwide. Russia and Ukraine are major exporters of these essential goods, and the disruption to their production and transportation has had a ripple effect on global markets, fueling inflation and exacerbating food insecurity in vulnerable regions. The economic fallout from the conflict is likely to be long-lasting, reshaping global trade patterns, accelerating the transition to renewable energy sources, and forcing governments to reassess their economic vulnerability. Strategic deadlocks and shifting sands. As the Russo-Ukrainian conflict grinds on, both sides find themselves locked in a strategic stalemate, their initial war aims frustrated by fierce resistance and miscalculations. Russia's hopes for a swift and decisive victory have been dashed by the tenacity of the Ukrainian defense, while Ukraine faces the daunting task of dislodging a larger and more heavily armed adversary. Russia's initial offensive, characterized by its ambition and speed, ultimately faltered due to a combination of factors, including poor planning, logistical challenges, and unexpectedly fierce Ukrainian resistance. Ukraine, on the other hand, has effectively leveraged its defensive posture, utilizing its knowledge of the terrain, the support of its people, and the influx of Western weapons to inflict heavy casualties on Russian forces and slow their advance. The strategic deadlock has resulted in a grinding war of attrition, with both sides seeking to exhaust the other through relentless artillery duels, airstrikes, and infantry assaults. The future of warfare. A chilling glimpse. The Russo-Ukrainian conflict has provided a chilling glimpse into the future of warfare. A future where technology and hybrid tactics blur the lines between conventional and unconventional conflict, and where the battle for hearts and minds is as crucial as the fight on the ground. The conflict has highlighted the growing importance of technology in warfare, From the decisive role played by drones and cyber attacks to the increasing reliance on artificial intelligence and autonomous weapons systems. Future conflicts are likely to be characterized by even greater technological sophistication, with nations investing heavily in developing and acquiring the capabilities needed to prevail in this evolving battle space. Future conflicts will likely see an intensification of information operations as nations utilize all available means to control the narrative, discredit their opponents, and mobilize domestic and international support. The Russo-Ukrainian conflict has also demonstrated the enduring importance of leadership in warfare, from the strategic decisions made by political leaders to the tactical brilliance displayed by commanders on the ground. Conclusion: lessons learned and the path forward. The Russo-Ukrainian conflict, a tragedy of immense proportions, offers a sobering reminder of the enduring nature of war and its devastating consequences. As the conflict continues to unfold, it is essential to reflect on the key lessons learned and consider their implications for the future of international security. First and foremost, the conflict has underscored the importance of deterrence in preventing future aggression. A robust and credible deterrent posture, backed by a willingness to use force if necessary, remains the most effective means of preventing future conflicts. This requires a renewed commitment to strengthening alliances, investing in military capabilities, and demonstrating resolve in the face of threats. Secondly, the conflict has highlighted the evolving nature of warfare, as technology and hybrid tactics blur the lines between conventional and unconventional conflict. Nations must adapt their military doctrines and capabilities to meet the challenges posed by this evolving threat landscape. Finally, the conflict has demonstrated the enduring importance of diplomacy and dialogue in resolving conflicts and preventing future bloodshed. By heeding the lessons of this conflict, the international community can work towards a future where dialogue and diplomacy prevail over violence and destruction.